Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of How to Be Better Friends.
Hello, hello, hello. And today we're going to keep diving into our 5 keys, and we're on number 4, and that is assuming the best intentions.
All right, so before jumping in, let's do a quick recap on our first 3 keys. Our second episode, we talked about honesty, why that is so important. Our third episode, we talked about quality time, or in our case, quarantining. And in our most recent episode, we talked about getting to know someone, getting to know you, getting to know. Okay, I'm done. I'm sure that was either flat or sharp or both.
Thanks.
But
Thanks for the reminder.
but for this episode, today's episode about assuming the best intentions, everything I learned came from my co host over here. So I'm just going to default to our dear lady Delisa.
I'm actually amazed that you said that, to be honest, because I'm like, really? Um, wow. Okay. I think assuming the best intentions, what does it mean? It means not jumping to conclusions at the first instant when something goes wrong or doesn't go your way. Um, do not add your own value judgments on something without actually hearing the other person out, or yeah, hearing the other person out or finding out exactly what went on. So for example, you know, somebody was meant to get back to you and they didn't get back to you. Don't assume that they didn't get back to you because they didn't want to talk to you. There are millions of reasons why they just didn't get back to you. So rather than jumping to conclusions, wait, find out, ask questions.
I agree,
So
like wholeheartedly. No, I don't even have
yeah.
anything to add.
Hmm.
I like that. I think we can
I
just end
always
right here.
and right you're funny. No, there's lots that we could discuss on this topic because assuming the right intentions, it's, can I say it's multifaceted? It's
How
not
so?
just one way. Um, because there are limits to everything, right? And there are a lot of elements that you have to consider when choosing to assume the best intentions. And you can't always assume the best intentions when someone keeps showing you over and over and over that, I don't know, they're not interested, or they're doing something that keeps putting you in a bad position or giving you a bad
Mm-hmm.
feeling, or etc etc. So I think there are limits. So yeah, maybe once, twice, 3 times, I don't know, you know. Maybe your first instincts were right. So yeah, I think it's there are lots of areas to
Mm.
this to consider um in that regard.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I guess I would say, jumping forward a little bit, is that assuming the best intentions sometimes gets a bad rap. Like when we were prepping for this episode, a lot of articles I saw were like, don't assume the best intentions because you're ignoring like the outcome of what happened. When you're like, oh, they didn't mean to. And whenever I've understood assuming the best intentions, it's more to what you first said, is it's not ignoring the impact, but it is still factoring in the intent. And so
Mm.
you could say, hey, that offended me. And then you're factoring in, but this person is normally quite nice. Normally our interactions are friendly and cordial. So something is a little bit different. And so instead of jumping to like the most extreme, this is why they did it, they hate me, they're something, like,
Mm.
let me just ask, did you mean what you just said? And sometimes they misspoke. And if you're factoring in text messaging, that's a whole other thing. Because I don't know how many times I've misread a text message because I've had a bad day and someone just writes, a one word response. And I'm like, oh, well, two can play that game. And really, they were they were trying to catch a car. They were in a meeting, and they thought they were doing me a courtesy by replying quickly, but they just replied the best way they
Yeah.
could. And so there's a lot about it, but I would say that assuming best intentions isn't ignoring the impact, but instead it's giving you like a level-headed place to address a point of friction and avoid unnecessary like escalation. Like sometimes it really is just a misunderstanding and it really is just a misperception. And it did hurt you and you still acknowledge that, but you still give that person a little bit of a chance to actually address it. I was on TikTok the other day and I'm coming back home. I've been on TikTok way too much. And this guy that I watched for well, I've binge watched. It feels like I've watched him for a long time because one night I sat and watched all their videos. But there was one video that popped up, and apparently he had posted something about his family, and he told the story. And when he told the story, he didn't go into every minute detail. And so someone wrote a
Mm.
response back, and um, it just took like the little details about what he said, and they extrapolated it into this like really thing. In his reply, he's like, "I don't normally reply, but you're calling into question my character, and that I will always reply to, because like your reputation is all you have." And he's like, "You took the little bit of details I gave you, and you jumped to the most malicious outcome. You didn't ask
Mm.
questions. You didn't try to verify. And you've watched my content before. You know the people I'm
Mm.
referring to in this story and how they are. And yet you took my actions with the little bit of context I gave you and just assumed that it was just
The
the most
worst.
malicious thing." And
Mm.
in our society and world at large and our friendships, I think we do that a little bit too much, where not a little bit, like a lot of it too much, where we say, someone did this, therefore, and it's like this one thing. Um, and so it's just, we gotta calm down, give ourselves a place to pause and say, that didn't feel right. But other examples have showed me this that's in contrary to this feeling. Let me ask. Let me pause. Let me not just straight up react when like they said something that rubbed me the wrong way or they did something that made me upset. Let me pause, give them the benefit of the doubt for at least the amount of time it takes to pause. If you pause and you ask level headed and they just confirm, "Oh yeah, I don't care about your feelings." Oh, go off. Go off.
Mm.
But if they're,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
"Oh, my bad. I really didn't know." Especially someone new, they don't know all your boundaries. They don't know all your triggers.
Mm.
They don't know the past that hurt you that they might be reflecting. Give people the chance. Let them confirm that they're being bad. If you want to, like, don't just assume they're going to be bad, because then it's also going to reinforce. If you say good morning period and I take that as, "Oh, she mad at me, well, what's wrong with you?" And you're like, nothing's wrong before, but now something is, like you just confirming the worst. So it doesn't ignore impact, but it does give you a place to actually breathe,
Mm.
take a second, and then clarify instead of just react. But what do you think?
No, you've said it all. Completely. Yeah. Like, there's nothing else to add to that, to be honest. That's exactly what it
Mm.
is. I mean, you've said it. Assuming the best intentions isn't ignoring the impact, and it is what it is.
This might be our shortest episode ever.
Possibly. I don't know. I think it's pretty straightforward. There was nothing to counter argue on that side, and your
Mm.
examples were perfect. So, yeah, I agree. Um, so I think looking at my own past experiences, one of the things I've always needed in friendship was this. Um, and I
Mm.
think that's why I was so on it with you. Like, here, listen. Sometimes I do this, sometimes I do that. But I want you to know it's not coming from somewhere malicious. It's just moi. Okay. um, and I've been misjudged a lot, I think, as in the past,
Mm.
by people who even would have considered themselves to be like my close friends. But they truly didn't know me. They didn't understand me because the conclusions that they would jump to about maybe my actions or, you know,
Mm.
something I said or didn't say. I
Mm.
mean, I had someone be pissed off at me because I didn't stick up for them, and it's just like, well, listen here. Listen. Um, but yeah, so I've always felt that way, and I'm trying to think of times where I've assumed the worst of a person, and it's all the time.
I love
and
our vulnerability. We admit our faults. We're not perfect people.
yeah, like I have assumed the worst intentions plenty of times, but I might not necessarily come to you first with it. I will go on a nice little rant. I might process it. I will think it out. I will go to other friends and ask them about this scenario and that scenario, and you've been on the receiving end of that one too. Like,
Oh yeah.
you know, and it's because, like, I'm self-aware. I'm aware that for me,
Mm.
certain actions from some people will just take me from 0 to 100. But I also know that there are different perspectives. So I will seek the counsel from those around me, those that I trust around me. And I will talk to them about what's going on and be like, okay, so this person that I'm in contact with, they did this or they said this, and then I'll give you the history. And then, and you know, maybe I'll say 6.5 times out of 10, I would gain a different perspective that makes me think and give that person the benefit of the doubt. But then there's the rest, which I'm usually right. Uh, but I think you generally do know, based on your history with that person and previous
Mm.
experiences and all of these things and how what they've shown you in the past. And anything else is just added verification. But yeah, I think for me, one way of reminding myself to not jump to those conclusions is checking in with others to make sure I'm thinking the right way. Because I could get myself into a whole heap of trouble if I don't do that. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's it's funny though because I used to do that too, and I found, especially with some people, like there was a period of time, what in 2020, that like if I wasn't by myself, I was probably with you. Like we hung out like a lot, and so there was a certain point where like I felt like if I had an issue with you and I was like trying to ask someone else, like make a scenario, they would just know I was
They'll
talking
know who
about
it is.
you. Like and knowing how private you are, it was like, okay, let me figure this out. Or I was like, I just got in the habit of asking and just being, hey, what did you mean when you said this? And usually I am wrong. So I'm the opposite of you. I'm actually usually wrong. So I'm like, oh, okay, good. Okay. And so then usually whatever frustration or anger that I had initially had kind of dissipates because I was like, okay. And I'll follow up and say, I'm really glad you said that because what I thought was blah blah blah, and you're like, why
Mm.
would you think that? And then I get in trouble for thinking that. But oh, I don't know why, but this just reminded me of, you know what? I'm not gonna tell that story because it's too triggering and it's off topic. Maybe in another episode I can talk about that. So sorry guys. But
Are
let's
you
keep it
sure?
going. Oh no, I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Okay. Well, so our next point is a foundation of trust is necessary to assume best intentions.
Yeah.
Deep stuff.
Is it deep or is
Deep
it
stuff.
simple? Like I think we misuse assuming best intentions to mean like I don't know this person, but I'm just going to assume the best. And in casual things that works, but since we're talking in the context of friendship, like it's a lot
Mm-hmm.
easier to assume the best intentions to a friend that you already trust. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
like you were talking about earlier, you're like people have misjudged you and things. Did they really know you? Did they really trust you? Because if they knew you and trusted you, like they could give you the benefit of the doubt. But
Mm.
if there was something that they were unsure of, if they didn't really feel like they really got you, and so that there was
Mm.
something off is like a harsh word, but like there was something about you that didn't mesh with them, then they're going to be more likely to jump to a conclusion. But if I'm like, okay, I trust that Delisa like means what she says. I trust that Delisa tells me the truth. So she would tell me if she had an issue with something I did. So let me not take like a curt reply or like not talking to her for a few days as like I did something wrong. It's actually kind of self-centered of me to do that. Like that everything that you do is a reaction to me. And sometimes you're just having your own bad day. But because I know you, because we've talked, we've had honest communication, we've taken the time to get to know each other, we've spent quality time where we've seen each other in different aspects. I'm like, okay, I know how she is, I know how she operates, and that this is not a personal thing. And so, all right, I can either say, this is how she is. Now, if something someone does that's just how they are, but it still really rubs you the wrong way, then you have to make your own internal dialogue about, can I accept this person as they are? Because if you've told me in honest conversation, I've spent time with you, I've gotten to know you, and you've said, hey, I don't reply to text quickly. I don't. And if you want to hang out, we've got to schedule it like a month in advance because my calendar is just full with work and like life responsibilities. And if for some reason that's a non-negotiable for me, I need people in my life who reply quickly, whatever my definition of quickly is, and I like to see my friends spontaneously, we might just not match. But it doesn't mean that like because I've gotten to know you and I trust you, I'm like, okay, either I can accept it or I can't. But it doesn't mean that you're good or bad. We don't always have to put a value judgment on it. And when you trust someone and you've known them, you don't have to put a value judgment of, is this a good behavior, a bad behavior, a good thing or a bad thing. It's also can be just, okay, can I accept that or can I not accept that? Like, it's not, do they need to change what they did? It's like, okay, I might not like it, but they were honest. They told me, like, how do I move forward? And so, but you need that trust in order to be able to make that decision and to be a little bit more self-aware about kind of how you are. And I think you mentioned self-awareness earlier too. So I think that's probably just a big part of assuming the best intentions is being aware of yourself, giving yourself a chance to be level-headed and address things like from a level-headed place, but also, do you trust them? Do you know them? And if you do, why are you then jumping to the most malicious outcome? Why are you jumping to the worst possible version?
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Trust is important. Trusting yourself, trusting the situation, trusting that person. Like you said, it's yeah. So assuming the best, it's hard. It's really hard
Mm,
sometimes. Especially if especially if whatever that person had done, if it just pisses you off, like it's really hard to come and just assume the best intentions from that. But it can be done. Um, and I think not just trust, but I genuinely think love has a lot to do with it.
hmm.
Um, and in all relationships, you love your friends, you love your family, you love those people that are around you that you spend time with, and you know, and I think when you love someone, you always try to see the best in them,
Mm,
and when you love yourself, you don't allow yourself to get too
mm,
worked up about certain things either,
hmm,
because you care about yourself too much to allow yourself to spiral or to go down
mm,
that negative route. Um, and because I love and care for that person, I'll be like, okay, well, this doesn't make me feel good right now, but I'll give it some time, I'll give it some air, and then I'll come back to it. Or I'll let this piss me off, I'll go to a room, cool down, and then I'll come back to it later.
mm.
Um, and I don't think you trust someone without loving them.
Hmm. Ah,
I
in the
don't know.
context of friendship.
Yeah, in the context of friendship. If I love my friend, then trust comes with that.
Oh yeah, I don't
I
know if
don't
I
see
can love
how
you
I
and
would
not trust you.
trust. Okay, fair enough. But then in that situation, if you love someone but then don't if you love someone but don't
And
trust them.
you need therapy.
But this is what I'm trying to figure out, because I'm like, how does that work?
Well, I
How
mean,
does
it's
that
not even like you
seriously
need therapy
work?
because there's something wrong with you. You need therapy to help you to see why you love someone that you don't trust. Like to help you see like what is your blind spot in that situation.
Yeah.
Because that would, but you, I think you can trust someone that you don't love. I also give the benefit of trust. I know some people. There's two camps usually in the world that I think of as like some people think trust has to be earned, and so you start with no trust, and then you have to earn it, and then I think trust is given, but it can be lost. So
Hmm.
I try to go because I've lived so much of my life when the trust can be learned, and it's just like yeah, I feel like I nitpick everything when I start from that area, and like I
Hmm.
look for every reason to not give the trust that if I start from
Hmm.
trust is given, but it can be lost, then I'm
Hmm.
usually starting with more grace. Because there was something that you said when you said that like you need to be able to love yourself. And I was also thinking like for me, my spirituality has helped with that, like a relationship with God, a relationship with Jesus, to know that I'm loved by a higher power, like has helped me so much in being more loving to other
And
people.
your family.
And my family, yes. So to know that it's true though. Like I remember when I first moved to China, like I didn't know anyone and I felt so isolated and alone and like the negative self-talk would pop in of like, oh, no one wants to be your friend. No one likes you. Da, da, da. I'm like, nope. I have a family of people who love me. And I have a big family. Like that's a lot of people. It's not a small family like 5 people. It's like literally 100 cousins. Like that's a lot of people that
Mm-hmm.
by default love me. That I don't have to know them all, but it's something about okay, God loves me, and everything that God's done for me. I can't be that bad, but also I have all this love pouring into my life that I've got overflow and I can give it. And all the
Mm-hmm.
grace that other people have given me when I've said something wrong, I've done something wrong, I've offended someone else, I can give that grace to someone else. Like, assuming the best
Mm-hmm.
intentions is giving someone grace. It doesn't neglect any of the outcome, but you can still give
Mm-hmm.
grace. And in giving that grace, you're allowing trust to grow. Because if I start from, I'm going to check everything that you do, and until you're 100% perfect, I'm not going to trust you. I get it. There's reasons that people start that way, and it's probably because of past issues, but it's going to be very
Usually, yeah.
hard. It's going to be very hard for you to let someone in and to give them like the benefit of the doubt. If you've had bad friends for years, it's going to be hard when you reach that new person who's genuine, who means what they say, who follows through. And yeah, maybe one day they're late when they said that they were only 5 minutes away and they're 10 minutes late. And then because you've just had so many other bad experiences, you take this one smaller thing and you make it a big thing. But yeah, if you come in
Mm-hmm.
with giving grace, giving love, it just makes it so much more possible to move forward and like you said, to do the big things. Don't get so stuck on the small things. But like you mentioned, it won't matter in an hour. Like if it really I usually go like, will it matter tomorrow? Will it matter in a year? But like sometimes we
Mm-hmm.
get stuck on things that won't matter in an hour. Someone could be 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late, but then when they do get there, I didn't hold it over them, and we had a great conversation. We had a great dinner, a great lunch. We're laughing, we're bonding,
Mm-hmm.
and we still had a lot of fun. If I would have held on to them being 5, 10 minutes late and be like, why are you late? You should have told me da 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 da. I mess up the opportunity where I've been in situations where I haven't let it go. So I'm talking from I now if you 30 minutes late, you better tell me. Like I'm not sitting in a restaurant just like, yeah, I'll take some more bread. So, but yeah, we gotta give grace. But
And
so then, okay, if we're going to talk about this in a larger sense, I think we've talked about two key things is that, you know, it just gives you a space to pause and be level headed. You still address what actually happened. And then, you need that trust, you need that grace, um, that trust, that love. I hadn't thought about that before, but yeah, I think introducing love and grace into the idea of giving best intentions, because I think we've all also benefited from that at some point of our lives, that someone did assume the best intentions for us, and that helped ease a conflict or
mm,
mitigate a conflict. And so giving that grace to others because it's been given to us. But then I think you were talking kind of off screen about having some kind of like rules about what are the requirements or what's the environment that needs to be set in order to give the best intentions. So, do you want to talk about that?
yeah, so I think um I think some things to just remember when it comes to those negative situations. Number one, checking in with yourself. Asking yourself the necessary questions. Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling about this situation? What is it about this situation that has upset me or hurt me, or made me feel this kind of way? Because I think just having that self check in, you might even come to the conclusion that actually it's not that person that has upset you or hurt you, it's what they did. But what they did might not necessarily be wrong per se. It could have just been the execution, but it might have just triggered some other feelings from previous relationships. Um, So your reaction might not necessarily have anything to do with them or what they did.
Mm.
It's just a trigger. Um, and and even in my current relationship, I remember it was something. There's a habit that my partner has, and I was like, this is triggering for me. And it's something. And I told him about it, but it's not something he can help. He likes doing what he does, you understand? But for me, it triggers something that happened in my past, you know, from childhood,
Mm.
and I have negative reactions to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very much aware of it, and I'm having to work on that reaction. Um, and just sort of, okay, he's doing that. I'm going to look the other way. So I think checking in is definitely important. The next thing is knowing that person. And we've spoken about this in our previous episodes. Um, Getting to know someone is really important. And that will definitely help you in your trust in them. Um, Look at your history with this person. Is this the first time they're doing this? Um, if not, then maybe you do have cause for concern. Um, Maybe you should question them. But
Mm-hmm.
if it's the first time, then maybe you can just give them the benefit of the doubt. But keep note. I don't
Mm.
say just, you know, keep note. If it happens again, it's a second time, a third time. All right, we really need to have a discussion about this. Or in the first instance, you can discuss it. But, just remember and give them that grace, like you were saying, um, that, okay, this is the first time, they've not done this before. We can take it as a lesson, learn, and move on. Um, I was saying off screen that the next thing would be to check in. If you're unsure about the situation, if you're unsure about your reaction, if you're unsure about what the person has done, or how to deal with it, you can consult someone who's an objective party. Um, and, just ask someone for advice. Like, hey, what do you think about this that just happened? But I need your objective point of view. Not everyone can be objective, especially if they've got your back, because they'll just want to fight for you, whether or not you're right or wrong. I mean, you've got some mothers out there who will be like, what? Someone hurt my baby. So if you've got that kind of mama, you're not going to go talk to your mom about this, because you want to hear, you want your mom to be able to step in the other shoes, right? But if you know that the person you're consulting cannot be objective, because you also need to look at your intentions when you're consulting someone else. What are your intentions for consulting this person? Are you consulting them because you know this person is just going to hype you up and be on your side and ready to fight, and then they'll just validate the way you're feeling, which will spur you on deeper into these feelings? Or you're going to or you're consulting someone who is actually genuinely able to see both sides, both point of view. And also, you need to check his story, because if you're just coming with this from one angle and not giving the full picture.
Fair. I I don't know why you're doing that. Like
But
that's
yeah,
something that I do. Is
no,
that
it's
something I
not.
do?
I'm just giving the audience a time to pause. And the next thing would
Oh,
be
you gave side
finally
eye to the
talk to the
audience.
person. Oh my gosh. And the next thing is talk to the person. Talk to them. Hey, what you did made me feel a certain way. I'm not saying that that was your intention, but I just wanted to ask you, What happened? Why did you do that? So I can understand. So I can understand you better. Um, you know, just sometimes pausing and just asking that question will stop you going down a road that could be detrimental to your friendship. So,
I like
yes.
these rules. I like them, but I would switch 3 and 4. And so,
Okay, so
and
four
I was
would
trying to figure
number
out,
three would come last.
yeah,
But
yeah, because for
but
me, what
number
I'm
four is an
thinking,
optional. It's an if, remember? It's not a
no,
you have to. It's an
I,
optional.
I disagree wholeheartedly. I
What, it should be involved? It should be included?
Talking to the person should always be included.
No, not that one. I'm talking about
Oh,
the checking in with someone else part.
oh,
I
okay,
was
but
saying
I
that's
just,
optional.
yeah,
It's not a must.
okay. Because what I was thinking of is I was trying to remember it and I had to look it up. I was thinking of there's a scripture and it's literally a scripture like Matthew 18:15-20. It's like, if your brothers, or in our case, sisters, sin, go and show him his fault in private. If he listens and pays attention, then you've won them back. If they don't listen,
Mm.
then you take along one or two others. And so that,
Mm.
you have witnesses and, it's kind of, you have, but it's only one or two. You take one or two trusted, objective others to be witnesses and to help y'all solve the conflict, whether it's you're talking to them or you actually bring people actually into the conversation. But the first step is to talk to them in private. And I think of times that I've been swayed by someone else's opinion. I think we talked about in one of our first two episodes an instance where I was talking to you about something, but I already decided what I was going to do. Usually, if I'm talking to someone, it's after I've decided what I'm going to do. It's after I've come to a conclusion, or it's after I may have already talked to the person and like aired it out, but I'm just sharing something about my life. Someone's like, "How are you?" I'm like, "Oh, this thing happened." But I'm saying it from a neutral place if I'm sharing it with someone outside of the conversation. But there's been issues that I've made an intentional decision that I'm going to work this out with this person and I'm not going to involve anyone else, because I have had a habit of being the third party and trying to be objective, but then being like, I remember how you did my friend. Mm-mm. And then I'm taking away an opportunity to give someone grace for an issue I'm not even directly involved in. And so that's my own fault. I'm not saying other people do it, but I just know I've done it and I've done it a lot. And so what I've tried to do is to go directly to the person after being level
Mm.
headed, after checking in with myself.
So you see, that's where this list will not apply to everyone, and everyone needs to know themselves, And if you know that you're a
Mm.
person who you're so, for example, with me, I think I'm pretty good at being objective and seeing both sides. Um, I When I speak to someone else about a situation, like I genuinely want to know if there's a different point of view. So I'm gonna give all sides. I'll tell you what I did wrong, and I'll tell you what that person did wrong, and I'll tell you what the situation is.
Mm.
Um, and when I speak to someone, it's for clarity. It's trying to understand, because I have definitely got a few friends of mine who I know that I can do that with. I can talk to them and they can see both sides of a situation. And they know what questions to ask. Like I've got one friend of mine. I remember I was really upset over my ex who didn't celebrate my birthday um very well. Like he didn't do much for my birthday, and I was really disappointed because when it was his birthday, I went all out, and I got really, really upset over this situation. And I called my friend up and I said to her, I was like, such and such happened, and this is how I feel about it, you know. And one thing she said to me, she was like, but this Delisa, did you tell him what you
Mm.
wanted for your birthday? And I was like, well, he should know. She was like, again, she said, did he ask you what you wanted for your birthday? I was like, yeah. And she was like, did you tell him? And I was like, and she was like, did you tell him no? So then you've got no leg to stand on. I was like, well, god damn it. So like, I really think like, and I know you quoted the scripture and what have you, but that sounds more of a confronting someone, or like, I can't see that applying for all situations, because if it's a case where you're checking first before approaching, or you're trying to understand a different point of view, a different argument as to why this might be the case, um it's not the same necessarily as, you're not necessarily involving someone directly. You're not telling this person, okay, come with me so I can talk to this person. You're just seeking counsel. And I think that's okay. It's like talking to a therapist before you decide to action something. Um, and some people do that. And some people trust their therapist to have an objective view. That's why you pay them. Um, so, in that regard, I think number three, what I had as number three, checking in with somebody, it could come before or after. It just depends on you.
Yeah. So the difference for us, excuse me. So the difference for us that I've always noticed is you can see both sides, and then like you can actively play both sides. I can see both sides, but then I'm like still firmly planted in mine. And so I'm
Your own
like,
side.
no, everything. I'm like, no, I get that. I disagree, but I get that. Like, and that's always bugged you. There was a slight tangent. There was something we were working on. Oh, when we were, yeah, I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna toot our own horn. When we were working on the foundation and the gala to support the Black entrepreneurs, and there was the survey that you wanted to do, and like I saw it one way, and you saw it another, and you're like, "No, Olivia, you'll get it. If we did it, and I'm like, "No, no, no. I understand what you're saying. I still
Mm-hmm.
disagree." And I was like, "I will defer to you." Not because like I'm changing my mind, but because I want us to do this project and like go on to help these 20 entrepreneurs. I think this is a worthwhile project where my disagreement is not going to be the roadblock, but I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna tell you. I do disagree. I understand, and I disagree. And so, but we know that about each other, and so we factor it in, and we're like, all right, cool. But she says she gonna still do it. So if I say I disagree, but I'll go ahead and do it, that also means like I'm gonna stand 10 toes down with you. In private, I'm gonna tell you, see, this is why. But in
Mm-hmm.
public, as it'll be a united front that says, we decided. That was my little tangent.
In the
But
background, you'd be like,
no, 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 no. I'm like, mm-hmm. My assessment is now complete. We followed her hypothesis. I wonder if next time we can try my hypothesis. Hmm. But yeah, that's I've always noticed that as like our difference, and it tickles me because there are times when you're like, if you understand, why don't you agree? And I'm like, because I don't, but you make sense. And you're like, but if you, I'm just like, let's move on.
and then I'm like,
You're like, understanding means agreement. I'm like, nope, it doesn't. It just means I follow your thought path. I just
I love you.
disagree. And I love you too. And I trust
Oh
you.
my god.
But okay.
All right.
Oh, that was
So,
good.
shall we jump straight into our Q&As?
Yes. Do you have a good question for us today?
Well, we've got let's see. Sarah from Beijing sent us a question. And if people are wondering why Beijing, well, we've got Beijing history, so that's where people know us.
Yeah. Nobody knows me where I am
Question,
now.
how yeah. Question, how do we protect ourselves?
Well, I take self-defense class. Sorry. I definitely said I was going to stop being the obnoxious asshole. Um,
So, there was very little context as to why this question came up, but
yeah, can you repeat? Can we start over? I was confused.
It says Sarah from Beijing has asked us, how do we protect ourselves?
So,
I
what's
will
the
assume that
context of
she's
this
talking
question?
about I will assume that she's talking about in a friendship, getting to know someone. I don't know. That's the question that came through.
All right, Tara from Beijing.
Um how do we protect ourselves? So let's bring it to this context of assuming the best intentions. How do
Okay,
we
thank you.
protect ourselves in this?
Okay, because I was my mind was still going to I take self-defense class, and I was like, that's not a helpful answer. Um, so, in the context of assuming the best intentions, well, then I would say, have you done the other steps? Have you done the other keys? Have you been honest with yourself, honest with them about the kind of friendship that you want? We talked in the second episode about defining the relationship and like have you actually taken the time to say like this is the kind of friendship I want? It's it's not the most natural conversation, right? Because it's not something that we
Hmm.
do at large in society. It's not one of the five steps of friendship according to society at large. But if you've defined how you want your friendship to go and you've both been honest, you can't you can't make someone else honest, but let's go with the best case scenario here. Both of you have been honest. You've taken the time to spend time with each other. You've gotten to know each other in different environments over the course of time. So you know them, you know how they are, you have an understanding of them, let's say. You can use those to
Mm-hmm.
one understand, is this person someone I feel I can be vulnerable and open with? Like, is this someone that I truly feel like I can be good friends with? Like, not are they good, are they bad? Because I think we use that as a scapegoat to, oh, but they're such a nice person. That's great that they're nice. But is your friendship conducive to you all being healthy people? Some friendships bring out the worst in us. Some of friendships make us more obnoxious than we want to be. So seeing like how are you when you're with this person? Are they amplifying the better parts of you or the parts that you want to refine? And knowing that can help you say, "Ooh, if they're amplifying the parts of me that I already want to refine, there might be something in them that I don't actually mesh with, and I need to address that." But then also,
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say be cautious because that can backfire, especially when people this whole matching energies vibe that we've got going on as a generation of only put in what they put in. Well, if everyone's scared to put in effort, then y'all ain't never gonna get nowhere. If you're constantly afraid of being rejected, if you're constantly afraid of being the one who cares more, then I don't know how you really build good friendships. It is all a risk, but stay aware. And that whole rambling thought, I would also just say stay aware. Aware of how you feel around them, aware of who they are. And it's not a value judgment, but you are aware of, is this something I want to be around? Is this something that is conducive to me being a good friend to them, me being a good friend to myself when I'm with them? And just stay aware of those things. That'll help you be able to see like the real glaring red flags. Um, and over time, just know. I mean, some people are master manipulators and wonderful liars. And if you watch too many Lifetime movies and too much Dateline, like you'll just be scared to talk to anybody. So you got to take the risk and just show up. Stay aware of like yourself and them and your surroundings and how you all feel. But give grace, have fun. I don't know. It's kind of a bit. I feel like I'm not fully answering the question, so I'm going to stop there because it's a tricky question. How do you stay safe? You can't guarantee your
Um,
safety,
I
but you
think
can
if
just be aware
you've
of
built,
danger.
I think if, like you said, if you've built a foundation, we've spoken about we've spoken about those keys that we've done already, being honest and spending time together and getting to know the person. I think these are all um, really important factors which will allow you to give someone grace, which will allow you to give them the benefit of the doubt when things head south.
Mm.
Because no relationship is perfect, and you will have those times where you'll have an argument or somebody won't do the things that they said they will, like it always comes up. um but if you've built that strong foundation with that person, then there's room for understanding, and there's room for acceptance, there's room for assuming the best intentions. So I think there's not one thing and there's no one way, um, but rather a group of things that can help um, you. And in that way, you would then sort of be protecting yourself because you have all these things that you know about this person, that you know about your relationship. Um, and if you have already worked on this friendship and you've built this trust and you've got this, all of these things going on, then in a way you're sort of protected already, I think. Um,
Yeah, when you were speaking, I was like, oh, the simple way. How do you stay safe? If you can't establish the other keys, if you can't get
yeah,
honesty from them,
no,
if you want to
then there's
continue a
no
friendship but
way.
you can't get honesty, then you need to be very aware of the type of person that you're interacting with. If you can't get any time with them, whether you do it in a group setting or like I prefer one on one. I feel like that's better for me, but some people like to hang out as friend groups. But if you can't get any kind of
Mm,
quality time with this person, like to spend time with them, you don't know them. And if so,
no,
you have very
and
few
that's not
opportunities to
room.
get to know them. I
Yeah.
mean, like I know we're in a digital world and people are long distance, so even if they're not replying to your text messages because that's the only way you all can talk. uh, Sorry, you're yawning, threw me off. But
I'm sorry. I
it's fine.
tried to hold it in.
I know it's okay. But yeah, if we're in a digital world and so if texting, y'all can't spend time having text conversations or phone calls or FaceTime, but whatever way you can have quality time based on, your physical location or whatnot, if you're not spending quality time with that person, you can't get a sense of honesty because they're dodging really basic questions. You don't really know them. Well, you don't have a basis for which to make yourself vulnerable to them. So you shouldn't be opening up in a way that is dangerous to people that you cannot like identify those first three things with. And if you decide to, then you just know you're taking a larger risk. You're always taking a risk being vulnerable to people, people that you know, people that you don't
Mm,
know. But if you don't have those basics, then you're taking outsized risk. And so, like you
mm.
said, those keys, looking at can you do those things first, those will help you build the trust. Those will help you build the love to put you in a better place to give the grace, assume the best intentions, and you'll have the greater upside of protection and understanding. But if you can't get honesty and quality time and a chance to actually get to know the person like on a real level, then you adjust accordingly to how you interact with them. And if this is someone that you really feel drawn to, then you keep trying, but you wait until they reciprocate what you need before investing so deeply that you could be hurt, that you could be in an unsafe position.
I was on YouTube at some point, and this video clip came up where these people they were on a show, one of these YouTube channels, and I really, for the life of me, I can't remember. But if this triggers the memory of anybody listening, please let us know where it comes from, and we'll just like drop it in um below so people can see it. But there was this clip where there was a question from another viewer or a listener from their podcast or whatever it was. And the question was, what should I it was the person was basically saying, what should I do? So they were really
Mm.
good friends, and one of the friends were getting married, and the other friend was the did you hear this one, was the maid of honor, was supposed to be the maid of honor, and then she got
I
pregnant.
sent that to you.
Was it you? Send it to me. Okay, we need to know what that was, because that
Mm-hmm.
like that really, so basically in the situation was the bride to be said to the maid of honor, you can still be my maid of honor, but don't be in my photos, because she would look quote unquote odd. Now, if you're at the point in your relationship, in your friendship, where this person values you so much, where they make you a maid of honor, right? That tells me that there's a relationship there. And this person showing themselves right now, making this request, this is nothing new. This person is this way for a long time. Right? So,
Mm.
some way along their friendship, this person must have seen this red flag. Like, how could you not? Um, and if you see it, or they've missed a lot of red flags, because that was just
Mm.
crazy to me.
Mm.
Be my maid of honor, but don't be in the photos because I don't want your bumps showing to ruin my photos. And like, so like in that situation, how can you assume the best intentions?
Well, I think in that article, she like was like, "Wait, are you serious?" And the woman was like, "Yeah." And I think she even wanted her to wear some like uglier dress as well. And so if everything is to be believed, the woman like asked her, "Hey friend, really?"
Uh-huh.
And friend was like 10 toes down, absolutely. And she's like, "Well, I never." I just imagine this in a southern
Mm.
voice. But she's like, okay, well, I thought we were good friends." I guess not.
Guess
So
not.
I don't I don't think you have to assume best intentions. I think I think you pause and you're like, this sounds crazy. let me breathe because I've known this person for so many years. I love this person. I trust this person. Let me ask. Let me clarify. Hey, girl, hey. What the hell are you talking about?
Mm.
And then when they verify, like I said, once they verify, go off.
You
once
have
you've
every
taken the
right.
time to once you've taken the time to ask the questions that you're supposed to ask, then go off.
Indeed.
And yeah, that was wild. I was like, if somebody showed up, if I was having a wedding and you're like, hey, Olivia, I know you want me to be in your wedding, but I was like, oh no. I'd be like, oh no, you won't be able to drink at the reception. Oh, that's less for the open bar. Like that's what I would say. I would I can't imagine being like, oh no, best friend of mine who was carrying a child that will bear my name. No, you cannot be in my wedding because all my friends have children that have variations of my name because I'm just that narcissistic and conceited. Uh, although if someone actually did that, I'd be like, please don't do that. Please don't. No, but yeah, I can't imagine. But a lot of people, so I don't know about in the rest of the world, but in the US, a lot of friendships break down in wedding parties. A lot of friendships break
Another
down.
day, another conversation.
Bridezillas, they
That's
don't make
definitely
good,
going to be a
they don't make
topic.
better friends. Bridezillas don't make better friends. They don't. All right. But this has been
So
fun.
hot. Anyways, carry on. That's a hot
Eh,
topic, actually.
Bridezillas don't make better friends. They don't. The financial stress, the time stress of being in a wedding party. There's so many people who turn it down, not because they're not friends, but just because they're like, I don't need that stress in my life. I mean, but yes, that is another topic
It's
for
so
another day.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. All right, cool. Well, this has been great as always. Thank you for the laughter and the conversation. And we
And
definitely
thank
went
you.
over time. So I am sorry
We
because
did.
you're going to be editing a lot.
It's okay. No,
Um,
but thank you.
but I
Thank
love
you
you.
for tuning in, for joining in, for all your wisdom and insights. I think this episode we got to hear a lot more about like you and your stories, and so I'm super excited for that. So guys, if you have any questions that you want us to answer, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Hit us up on Instagram. If you're watching this on YouTube, then drop it below on our YouTube um, or on our link tree on Instagram. We have a section for questions. If you and your bestie want to be featured on the podcast, tell your bestie story and about how y'all have like just weathered the storms, learned to be good to each other, or maybe y'all are bride and maid of honor who were like, oh, it was fun, it was perfect, literally no issues. Tell us so we can tell the people how to do it. But yeah, hit us up on social, and we'd love to hear from y'all. And thanks for subscribing. Don't
Peace out.
forget, make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
I love you because I was already like, peace out. And you're like, and subscribe and do this and do that. And I'm like, yeah.